Hello, this is poor4trump@gmail.com. We're so happy to have you here. I don't know what happens here. I don't know how people get to look at this or know that it's here. Not sure how to use it. I'm going to find out and try it a few times until we get it working, and hope that we end up developing this effort for Jesus and for the good of our country. I don't know if I'm violating copyright laws by having that music play in the background or that radio station, but it does go out into the public domain, and this is public domain in my opinion and our understanding of it. So this is poor4trump@gmail.com. We're doing things you're not supposed to do. We're talking about politics, we're talking about religion, and we're talking about health. And they're the big three, in my opinion. They're the three areas where people try to make money off of the government and off of others' suffering of others, instead of doing it for the glory of God, and instead of doing it to help others. People do it pretending they're helping others, while the one who really is helped is their own self. God wants us to do religion free, not charge for it. And God wants politics to be amongst all the persons. Democracy, everyone is involved, not just the rich or a few people, and they decide everything. No, everybody's involved. You're involved. I'm involved. We don't just go and vote for a candidate. We help to select the candidates and put them in office, put them run for office. But, instead of people saying, oh, I want to run for office, I want to do this, I want to do that, that's the devil. What we need is for us to say, gee, who's a good person that we can run? Who's a good person that we could put as a candidate? Who's going to represent our issues and our thoughts and our opinions? And who's that person? How are they going to do that? And how will they meet the platform of the party is what they're supposed to do. Not become kings and queens and princes and rule forever and run for office and stay there forever. People aren't supposed to use political office to gain for personal gain. They're supposed to use it to serve the community, like Cincinnatus did. Cincinnati is named after a guy named Cincinnatus, and what did he do? He was a person who was a farmer, and like everyone was in those days. He was a business person. He was a successful person. And he was a general. He had been retired, but they had a problem. People came and they took over the country. They were gonna be dictators and do wrong. And the country said to him, "Please come and help." And he did. He came and he rescued the country. And then they expected him to take ownership and be the king and be in charge or be the Caesar. And he said, "No, I'm going to go back now and be in my private life." And the idea that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have these people who use the party as a way to enrich themselves, pretending that they're helping the community while all they're doing is helping themselves and their friends. This is wrong. So what are we going to do? Well, if I understand my ancestry correctly, my ancestors helped to create the Republican Party to end slavery. And they were well-to-do, some of them, a small minority of them. Some of my ancestors came from Europe in the 1900 time. Others came from Europe before that. Perhaps some of mine came in the potato famine, but from Ireland, and some came from Italy, and they were Italian Jews. We'll talk about that, about my personal life, so you know. But in time, we'll talk about it. But now this is about poor black people, and this is about the black community being abused by the white community in the United States for over 300 years, 400 years now. The poor black woman, they lynched their own children because of what they were taught to do by Lynch, when Lynch was in charge, or when he was pulled into Jamaica and to the islands to frighten the slaves into not rebelling. And what he did was frighten the woman and get the woman to keep making their children behave the way the white man wanted. But that's not the issue. That's because they didn't want them to be killed or be hurt. But the thing is that all the problems that the black community has in the inner city that is affected and caused by the Democratic Party and their interaction with these people and their interest in getting votes for money. They use the government money to pretend they're helping all these poor black people who are poor because of the Democratic Party. They made them poor. They made them slaves. They started segregation. You don't know history if you think that the Republicans are against the poor and the blacks and the Democrats are for them. It's just the opposite of that. You need to look and you need to learn and you need to be realistic instead of foolishly idealistic. The Democratic Party's never done anything to help a black person meaningful of itself. Only when it became a popular idea and they saw that maybe the future would require them to do that or look bad, they embraced that idea. But there's no poor person run for office by any party, Republican or Democrat, anywhere in the United States. Poor people are not even consulted about anything. They're just ruled over by the other classes, especially the upper class and the upper middle class. They rule. And this is going to come to an end. Black persons, we're going to help the black persons. We're going to help the white persons. We're going to help the poor persons who want to get out of poverty to get out of poverty and to get out of the slave mentality and to get out of the plantations. In the city of New York, there's a plantation. In Chicago, there's a plantation. Philadelphia, there's a huge plantation where these people are now the cattle and the sheep and the chickens, and the government pretends that it's helping them under the Democratic Party. But it's not true. All the good things that happened that help poor people in this country gain their rights and be free of oppression can be directly connected to the Republican Party doing things when they had to be done, fighting the system to make it better. And the Democrats won't fight the system. They use the system to stay wealthy by working in the government. What did Hillary Clinton do to deserve to be a multimillionaire? She was the wife of a president. No other wife of presidents become a multimillionaire because of it. No, she's not what she seems to be, or if she is what she seems to be, there's something going on there that's satanic, and she has nothing to do with it. Otherwise, she's deeply involved in it. And it'll come out when she's dead, just like the Roosevelts were satanic and demonic, and what they did came out when they're dead. And it didn't all come out. They're still coming out. But now we don't know what it is, except that people all over the country are coming out thinking that's a good thing. And it isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's a good thing for what's right to be done and what's not right to not be done. And we're going to change it. The wall between Mexico and the United States isn't going to be built by the government. It's going to be built by volunteers, mostly black, who come out of the cities and go down to the Texas-Mexican border, and they're going to get 100 acres of land to farm. And they're going to be taught how to farm it in a way that makes them wealthy. And they'll put up their own wall along their property and protect it with guards or whatever they have to do to keep people from trespassing on their property. And they'll live good. But if they're going to serve Satan and use their money for bad things, we're not going to help them or have them participate. But if they're willing to give up the service of Satan by being oppressed and being happy about it, then we're going to, all of us together as Americans are going to help them to come out of poverty and to go into the truth. We need we need all across the country for poor black grandmothers to run for public office, to put them in office all across the country. Just because and I'm talking about someone that's in their 60s or 70s or 80s, not someone that's 35 and they're a grandmother. But someone who's lived a life, had to put up with all the oppression that black people have to put up with because the Democratic Party uses the government to give them welfare and keep them poor and let them stay poor for generations. And the Democratic Party and the people working, doing all the service of the poor, make a fortune doing it. And they keep it going and they keep it going. And they take the money from you, the taxpayer, to do it. And they take the money from you, the poor person, because if you weren't stuck in their system that's broken, instead of being poor, you would have money, and we don't need to pay all these taxes. It doesn't have to cost so much. What's going on to me in this nursing home, and I'm documenting it, is a perfect example. The money gets wasted because nobody's in control of spending it or concerned about how it gets spent. That's what Milton Friedman taught us. We need to learn from Milton Friedman, and we need to put it into practice. Thank you very much. See us later. Goodbye.